Now, rolling blackouts have been escalated to stage 4 this afternoon into the evening. Eskom says this will help with recovering emergency generation reserves, which have been utilised extensively to meet the increased demand over the last few days. Professor Sampson Mamphweli is the director of Stellenbosch University Centre for Renewable and Sustainable Energy Studies. Prof, thank you so much for your time this evening. Before we even talk about the situation with the grid, let's talk then about the protest that we saw in Kagiso today. Residents up in arms over illegal mining, as well as alleged illegal miners, while there are risks that are environmental for some of these communities that are posed by illegal mining activities. Let's talk about the impact that illegal mining may sometimes have on energy supply in some of these communities.
Good evening, Wangiwe and the listeners. Yeah, so in most cases, the illegal miners destroy infrastructure, and they destroy any form of infrastructure because these are people mainly who are in the country illegally, involved in illegal activities. So they destroy things such as your transformers, because from transformers there are other components that they use either during their mining activities or taking for scrap metal, where they get money paid for such components. Over and above that, these people live mainly in informal settlements that they establish close to these mine dumps or close to a walking distance from them, their illegal mining activities, and they connect illegally. Largely on the electricity infrastructure, putting a huge strain on the grid, as well as when they destroy some of the infrastructure, it affects communities that are living in the vicinity of such mines in terms of the electricity service that needs to go to them. And in most cases, the communities don't necessarily know or understand the impact of these illegal activities, both on the mining side as well as on the infrastructure side and illegal connections. So those are some of the impact of illegal mining in South Africa.
And when we then look at the theft and the damage to some of these infrastructures, you say that in certain instances, transformers may even be destroyed or, go missing in these particular communities. How much of a headache does it then pose for these communities that are trying to have access to electricity?
It poses a serious headache. In most cases, communities would normally rebel and say, we don't have electricity in this area. I know of a friend of mine who lives in Johannesburg, in a part that is heavily affected by this kind of activities, where they replace transformers today, the following day, the same transformers have been removed. And that has been linked to some of these illegal miners. When they connect illegally to their informal settlements, it puts a lot of pressure on the transformers that are in that particular vicinity, and then Eskom has to, or the city power has to then implement what they call load reduction to protect the transformers in that particular area. And in most cases, the communities will just hear of load reduction, and then they get very mad at Eskom and the municipality, not necessarily knowing why do we have this load reduction. And in most cases, it's because of that and many other factors, because even some of the South Africans are also involved in illegal connections, I must say.
Is that then why you would think we are seeing protests over electricity? And one goes back to a community like Tembisa this week, for example, that is demanding a flat rate, while some of them are saying that they're paying for services that they're not even getting, services that are not consistent.
That is true, because those communities are hard hit by load reduction and load shedding. So when there's load shedding, they feel the impact like everybody else. And over and above that, because of the infrastructure that gets stolen, they have intermittency in terms of supply of electricity. Because of the illegal connections around them, Eskom or the municipality has to always implement load reduction. And nobody wants to pay for a service that is intermittent, or a service that is not there. I know of an area where there was no electricity for more than a week because of some of these activities, because the transformers were getting stolen. They replace the transformer today. Before the end of the day, the transformer is gone. So those are some of the challenges that illegal miners and illegal connections bring to the network and the society at large.
And let's then look at the issue of Eskom. I mean, Eskom is talking about capacity constraints, saying that, these have been exacerbated by several units that have been delayed into coming back into the grid, for example. Some units, of course, expected to return over the next few days, as they say, but there's no guarantee here. How much of a reality, then, is that we're going to see rolling blackouts into the weekend?
So I've looked at the Eskom system, the data that they have, that they normally share. It's not looking very good in terms of the demand versus supply. The demand is still a bit higher because the winter is kind of delaying to leave, or for lack of a better word. There are various interventions that the president obviously announced, and the various ministers are starting with implementation. But those interventions will start to have an impact in the next 6 to 7 months. So we can still expect that load shedding could happen at any point in time. The biggest problem that we have with the Eskom coal fleet is that it's very old. It was neglected for quite a long time. Some of the parts have become obsolete. So when Eskom says, for instance, there are delays in the return of service for some of the units, you could find that it's because of either the procurement process for parts, or the parts that they have to replace are taking longer than they expected to arrive either in the country or to arrive at the particular power stations. So those are some of the problems that we will have for the next 6 to 7 months, while the other short to medium term kind of solutions come into effect. So, and we're sitting with a system that is no longer predictable. So Eskom cannot predict and say to us that when we bring back these units into service, we won't have others breaking down. That's one of the biggest challenges that we have. Their coal power stations are breaking down unexpectedly at any point in time. We could be talking now and something is breaking down because of the history of these systems.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof. Do appreciate your time. That was Professor Sampson Mamphweli, who's the director of Stellenbosch University's Center for Renewable and Sustainable Energy Studies.